All of It on WNYC. I'm Allison Stewart. Let's talk movies. This hour, we'll hear about the film Urchin, which stars Frank Delane and Harris Dickinson. Dickinson also wrote and directed the movie, which follows the ups and downs of a young man's survival on the streets of London, from the lucky breaks to the drug relapses that keep him from breaking the cycle. We'll also talk about this year's screen adaptation of the revenge thriller play Is God Is, which follows twins seeking revenge on their violent father at the request of their dying mother. The twins are played by Cara Young and Mallory Johnson, and as they road trip, they unpack how life might have been different without the turmoil he put them through. But first, let's start with filmmaker Boots Riley. When rapper, record producer, and filmmaker Boots Riley was a kid, he and his group of friends recorded a song called I Love Boosters. The lyrics went, I love them boosters. They love them boosters. You should love them too. Even if they don't know you, they'll get it for you like a whole outfit or a shoe. A booster is a person who jacks or steals from retail stores and flips them at a dirt cheap resale price to turn a profit. That is at the heart of his new film, also titled I Love Boosters. It is set in Oakland, California, and follows a trio of friends and professional shoplifters known as the Velvet Gang. They're shown as fashion-forward Robin Hood types offering a service to their community. Their latest target is a fashion mogul named Christy Smith, a girl boss who personifies capitalism and exploitation. As the Velvet Gang and Christie face off, the film explores themes like workers' rights, plagiarism, intellectual property, and what it means to be an artist. Boots Riley joined us to talk about I Love Boosters. I started by asking him why he wanted to revisit the song of the same title, which he released with his hip-hop group, The Coup.
I mean, it's actually something that's in the news a lot now. The Intercept investigative journal did an expose that all these police unions got together in the wake of the George Floyd protests and hired publicists to seed stories in local news around the country about the supposed rise in crime and focusing on stuff like shoplifting when actually it was going down. So that's maybe part of what's in the air, but really it was because I've spent I spent a long time being a broke rapper that needed to stay fly, and definitely worked with a lot of boosters who provided stuff for me. But at the same time, I saw how much they were helping the community, how much, even though it was illegal, it was not more immoral than the folks that they were getting it from. And so I thought that in a time when there's a lot of villainization going on, and especially this is a group of Black women, that it would be good to live with them for a little bit.
Sometimes critics have referred to this film as an anti-capitalist comedy. First of all, did you sit down and think, I'm going to write an anti-capitalist comedy?
No, I mean, I think about, one, let me be clear. I'm a communist, and I believe that the people, we should have a world where the people democratically control the wealth that we create with our labor. So I believe that. So if I make some art that has to do with what I believe, it's going to be along the lines of those politics. I don't have to be like, I'm going to try to make this. I just make art that talks about the world in the way that I see it. And I start with characters. I start with characters that we want to be with, that we want to experience their trials and tribulations, and it expands from there. And a lot of times what I'm doing, though, that I get from music is I want people to feel it. So I'm upping the ante on the contradictions. I'm heightening the contradictions to the point of absurdity in some ways. And then that ends up being funny. It ends up being, because comedy and tragedy both have irony in common, and that irony is very connected to contradiction, and so so I don't know. I don't know how to not write a comedy because life is so funny. Like, I think people have to do a lot of work to extract the comedy out of life. I've been to jail a few times, but the longest was for 3 days, and people laugh in jail, right? Mm-hmm. Right, mm-hmm. Like we often look at certain ideas and problems, and I think when the comedy is taken out, we're taking out some actual important analysis.
You know, the film is really colorful. Sometimes it's really wacky in the best sense of the word. There's a lot of sight humor that's involved. But then you also talk about workers' rights and stealing people's creativity. How do you think about balancing the idea of the visual stimulation that we're getting versus the deeper messages?
It's not a balance. It's all one thing.
Oh, interesting.
Right? So the visual stimulation that we're getting is also, I would say, also music and sound effects are part of that stimulation. And I'm trying to take people through visceral experiences that are analogous to the emotional experiences folks are going through. And like I was saying, we're juxtaposing things. We're exposing contradictions. And I want, if I have the camera pushing a character back with things whizzing by us, that's because that's part of the idea. That's where we're going together, and it leads to these other ideas. And again, like when I'm writing it, I'm just being honest with myself about how I feel these personal things connect with these larger things. So we're talking about here. We're talking about the large contradiction of, boosters are not outside of capitalism. They are part of the distribution system. And these things are made of not just other things, they're made of people's time. And so the idea is to, one of the ideas in the movie is we see both sides of that production line, and it's personal to us. Now, that putting those together is ridiculous in and of itself. The stuff is made by people that can't afford it, and the inspirations for fashion are often from Black communities and communities of color and other working class communities who inspire the fashion and can't afford it. Mm-hmm. So those contradictions are ridiculous. And when you really when you put all of those things up together, that comedy, that visual, that visual conflict as well, the colors, like this is a very colorful movie, partly because I need to build a rhythm of, big swaths of color that change from this to that. I also am trying to have everything in camera so that you feel textures. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of collage in this. One of my biggest cinematic influences is Parliament Funkadelic, and they might have a lead guitar, electric guitar over an accordion with a gospel choir playing underneath it and someone doing spoken word, and it all fits together. And so I'm trying to visually do that same thing, not just visually, but in editing and all of that.
I love that their lipsticks changed. Let's listen to a little bit of I Love Boosters. This is Corvette, Sade, and Mariah talking about their plans to rob Christy Smith's stores. Let's listen.
We're gonna grab the videotapes, all right?
We be wearing wigs, and the camera angle ain't enough to prove. They don't know my name is Cassandra. We use fake IDs. They don't know where we live. None of this.
Even if they can't prove it, they'll still know it was us, though.
Let me be specific. I don't care if they know it was us. I care that Christy Smith hates that they know it was us. We clear the place out in 40 minutes or less, and be a lick big enough for us to sit back for a minute.
like the sound design, too.
That's Tune Yards that does the score.
Oh, thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
What did you think about the first time you saw those three actors, Kiki, Naomi, and Taylor, on screen together?
Well, our rehearsal was just them sitting in a room and talking. Like, we thought we were going to sit down and do a rehearsal, and they started talking and really vibing. And so I just sat there. I was like, I'm not going to ask them to do lines. This is the rehearsal. It's them getting to know each other. And it was electric. They really hit it off and became friends. And honestly, with the way that we shot this, was a very complicated shoot. We had specific lighting requirements, things like that. Our DP, Natasha Breyer, is a genius, and we had lenses invented for us by Panavision, and she had her own invention that she put in front of the lens to have color kind of wash and change on there. She doesn't like me to talk too much about it, but because she needs to get the patent. But the point is they had a lot of time to vibe together in between stuff. So you really feel that, like, you are hanging with them and you want to keep hanging with them.
Let's listen to a clip from I Love Boosters. Corvette sees Christy on the news answering a question about what she thinks of the Velvet Gang.
Christy, what are your thoughts on the Velvet Gang?
Christy Smith knows we exist.
Low-class urban bitches. With all due respect to urban bitches.
Did she just call us urban bitches? It's so early 2000s.
Why did you have Christy call them urban bitches?
Just because that was like the code, like that word that used to be used, like when people didn't want to say black, and you knew they were talking about black people, and they said urban, so I just gave her that.
Demi Moore has been in this business for years. What was something interesting that she brought to the character?
Oh man, she would say, "Well, I have a friend that's a fashion designer, and they do this." She had all this experience of that, right? And and she also, one of her notes was really good that actually caused me to put a couple things in there that caused laughs. Because the character was a child prodigy who was an MIT genius who started doing fashion. I won't get into the whole thing, but started doing fashion at a young age. And so she was like, well, if she's a genius, I need more things that just tell us she's a genius. So I looked up a lot of antiquated insults, and coming from, and they end up, so there's like, she calls them mumble crust whores, and she calls them fustelarian. And these are words like mumble crust is something that someone from an aristocrat might try to insult someone for starving, even though they're the ones that are causing them to starve. Or fustelarian, meaning you have to fight for your life, right? But so if after this movie you hear people using the words mumble crust or fustelarian, I need a footnote credit on that.
You're both the writer and director of this film. When does the screenwriter role end for you? And when does the director begin? Or is it the same?
They both are the same thing. When I'm writing the script, I need people to see the movie while they're reading it. And because I'm usually giving it to people that either I need to be in the movie or fund the movie. So I want and also I never know whether it's going to get made. So I want that script to be a document that maybe people read 20 years later and be like, this would have been an amazing movie. So I'm describing I'm describing production design. I'm describing the way camera moves, things like that. Obviously, they change later. But then when we're on the set, I can be honest because it's my writing. I can be like, that's bad writing. Let's not do that. Let's do this other thing. And it's all happening at the same time.
We got a text here that says, Sorry to Bother You was one of the best movies ever, from one of our listeners texted in. So that's for you.
Yeah, thank you.
What did you learn from Sorry to Bother You that you were able to use on this film?
Okay, well, on Sorry to Bother You, for instance, we have this part where the papers are flying behind Lakeith Stanfield's character, Cassius, and he feels defeated and he sits back in his chair, the papers fly. That took us like 20 to 30 minutes to get those papers flying, and everybody was like, this is an indie film. We had a budget of less than $4 million. They're like, why are we spending a huge part of the day trying to do this? And I pushed for it, and we got it, but once we started getting it, I was like, I felt bad, like we wasted so much time. So I was like, I got to make this be worthwhile. So I thought about what the next scene was, and we added a transition in there. I had Lakeith turn to the side and say, you're going to stuff all that in your mouth? And it transitioned to the next scene, and it worked so well that when I was writing this, I was like, oh, I'm doing that to the 1,000th time. And so we have a lot of transitions built into the scenes that we filmed with, where the camera leads you to something, or the characters lead you to this next thing. And, it's a thing that I'm very proud of in the movie.
That was Boots Riley talking about his film I Love Boosters, streaming now on Apple TV.